You are listening to Mark Lack, and this is Retail 101 Online. Welcome, Retail 101ers, to episode number 6, hosted by Mark Lack from Retail 101 Online. For our fabulous regulars, a huge thank you for sticking with us. Your unwavering support keeps our podcast engines revved and ready to dive headfirst into the chaotic world of retail education. So here's to you, our amazing listeners, for keeping us energized and eager to tackle every episode with the gusto of a bargain hunting pro. If you're itching to hear more tales from the retail trenches, straight from the mouths of real-life retail warriors, then buckle up and prepare to subscribe to the soon-to-be-launched Retail Voices series. These will be discussions with real people talking about their role in retail, how they got to where they are, and where they want to get to. In this episode, we are going to be talking about those wondrous beasts we call employees. Our employees are the face of our brand, and they shape our reputation through every interaction with customers, partners, and stakeholders. Their commitment to excellence in customer service builds trust and loyalty, which is crucial for sustained success in this competitive environment. Moreover, a motivated and engaged workforce cultivates a positive work culture, attracting other top talent and reducing turnover costs. Ultimately, employees are not merely cogs in the machine, but are at the centre of the business, embodying its values, aspirations, and collective spirit. Their unwavering dedication, passion, and resilience lay the foundations for growth, prosperity, and enduring success, making them the indispensable architects of any thriving enterprise. As you can imagine, the subject matter for employees is just huge. So, like the assortment building topic, I have broken this theme down into 2 episodes, with, no doubt, more to be added at a later date as we dive deeper. The aim, as ever, is to distill each episode into 3 simple components. With employees, the first episode will be about, firstly, people and development, looking at why we must do this and who is responsible. Secondly, managing the individual, looking at their motivations, competence, and, of course, their personality. And thirdly, managing the team, looking at what makes effective teams, investigating the Belbin model, and showing you how to create a team sociogram. In the second episode, we will look at, firstly, management styles, by delving into the 3 areas of directing, discussing, and delegating. Secondly, some day-to-day tools that you can use with your own teams. And thirdly, the leader's role in managing their employees. As a sidebar here, did you know that workplace friendships can significantly impact job satisfaction and productivity? Research has shown that having friends at work can lead to higher levels of engagement, increased job satisfaction, and improved overall well-being. Moreover, these friendships can enhance collaboration, communication, and teamwork, fostering a positive and supportive work environment. Building strong social connections among employees not only improves morale, but also contributes to higher retention rates and better organizational performance. Therefore, cultivating a culture that encourages and values workplace friendships can be a powerful strategy for enhancing employee happiness and productivity. So, without any further delay, let's get into the main theme for this episode, which is the employees, and specifically using the acronym YPAYS. YPAYS. Your people are your success. I have spent a lot of time with employees over the last 40 years, and if there is something I do understand, it's that people are any business's most important asset. Any business that I have been in, I have first sought out the human resources department as my main collaborator. Why is this, I hear you ask? Well, it's pretty simple, really. Quite a number of years ago, when new job titles started appearing in HR, or human capital as most seem to call it now, although that does sound more like a financial term, and that does worry me a little bit, we heard the new job title of HR business partner. I was quite clear with anyone who said this title to me. I don't want you to be my business partner, I want you to be my competitive advantage. This is the important distinction. HR has a huge responsibility to ensure we have the right talent at the right time to keep the business moving forwards. But it's not just HR's responsibility. This is on all of us. The retail industry is notorious for having very high levels of employees leaving. Some of this is partly down to the transient nature of the job itself. Lots of part-time employees or even no contract hours roles. This will mean we don't make much effort to keep people. In fact, I have been in a business where we had 165% employee turnover annually, and one that had double the national average turnover. It's quite shocking really, but what it boiled down to were 3 areas that we were not paying enough attention to. Firstly, it is recruitment. This is an area where we tend to let HR do all of the work. However, it is a crucial stage for both the prospective employee and the business. I have seen some shocking recruitment practices whereby a person was interviewed, and yes, I really hope you heard my finger speech quotes there, interviewed in less than 2 minutes. It was like speed dating, but for jobs. How can you possibly evaluate someone that quickly for both job purpose and cultural fit? It's just beyond me. Secondly is the probation period and onboarding. This is another area that has become a paper-based exercise. Tick the boxes here, attend those courses there, allocate in store for some OTJ on-the-job stuff everywhere, and before you know it, we're expecting a new employee to know everything within a few weeks and then let them roam wild in the stores like some nightmare feral child that had originally been raised by wolves. Thirdly, and finally, 2 years after joining. Most people are looking for some kind of progression in their role, whether it is greater responsibility, skills acquisition, or just plain and simple recognition. When we tell our people how well or not they are doing during appraisals, but then have no plan for them and their future in the business, well, what else should we expect? They will get itchy feet and start thinking about pastures new. There are many factors that affect employee turnover. Some of these are company-driven, such as training and development is just non-existent. There are a lack of career growth and opportunities, and poor work-life balance. A small sidebar here too. Work-life balance is a strange one to me. We don't just have work and life. My tuppence worth on this subject is that we have a life, one life. Within that life we do everything from eating, sleeping, playing, being sad, being happy, and loads of other stuff too. But also working. It's about having a balanced life, not a work-life balance. Okay, I'll step off my soapbox on that one for now. The company image is another area that affects both turnover and retention. Of course, the workload itself also impacts employee turnover, both too much and too little. And I really am sorry to those employees in my past who have worked for me and I have given you too little to do. And finally, the leadership. And yes, that means you, managers. We all know that people leave managers rather than an organisation. Then of course there are some macroeconomic reasons why people leave, such as the compensation and benefits, the labour market as a whole, or at a more local city or regional level. Is it strong? Are there many opportunities? And of course, the overall unemployment rate. If unemployment is high, people tend not to leave for fear of not getting another job. When we look at all of the factors mentioned, we often think, well, that's HR's job. I have heard all of these excuses from managers about employee development. Oh, I don't have enough time. Yes, but people cannot improve. Well, why develop them when they will only leave? But I need results today. All of these are just excuses. A well-known saying is as follows. The CFO asks the CEO, what happens if we invest in developing our people and then they leave us? Whereupon the CEO answers, what happens if we don't and they stay? And another well-known saying, if you think it's expensive to hire a professional, wait until you hire an amateur. Failure to address the needs of employees will result in, firstly, low morale, which causes increased complaints, conflict among employees, decreased productivity, insubordination, and even theft, and potentially sabotage. Secondly, absenteeism, which is caused by excessively high or insufficient workloads, unpleasant working conditions, poor working relationships, and insufficient experience or training. Did you know that absenteeism in the retail environment in some countries is as high as 15%? And thirdly, of course, high employee turnover. Employee retention is one of the primary measures of the health of a company. If you are losing employees at a higher rate than the industry standard, be sure that the first place I will look at is at the management team. The successful management of your team will result in the right people in the right jobs, increased productivity, high morale, and a much lower turnover of employees. The output to those inputs is satisfied customers. Remember, we talked about inputs and outputs during episode 2 on availability. Managers need to focus on the 3 main areas of the individual, the team, and then the management style to use. And that's what we are here to discuss over these 2 episodes. The first place to start is with each individual on your team, because it is absolutely essential that you know everyone on your team. If the employee is new to the team, then you will need to have an informal meeting with them to discuss their background, both personal and professional. This time can also be used to understand the new employee's expectations about the role and for you to set your own expectations. This will lead to greater clarity for both of you and immediately opens up the communication lines. If you are new to the team and everyone else is established, the best place to start is by reading your team's most recent performance appraisals and then having an individual discussion with each of them to understand them better. When reading through previous appraisals, be mindful that people are able to change and grow, so any negative or positive appraisal reference points are only an indicator as to where someone was at that time, not necessarily where they are now. I often get asked, how much should we know about our employees, especially their personal circumstances? Well, that really comes down to both of you as individuals. Not everyone is comfortable sharing personal details. However, having an understanding of your team's personal details will enable better communication when, for example, you are asking them to work extra hours or a morning shift instead of their usual evening shift. It would be right for you to start building up a picture of each individual, which will help you allocate workloads going forwards. I usually like to have an understanding of their expressed ambitions and current targets, as well as any actions underway or planned to address those needs. There are multiple factors that influence the performance of an individual, but 3 in particular stand out. Ooh, was that 3 things again? Firstly, motivation. Secondly, competence. And thirdly, personality type. So, let's look at each of those in the next segment. So, let's start to look at those mysterious 3 factors. Motivation, as the first one, refers to the driving force or reasons behind employees' actions, behaviours, and performance in the workplace. Motivation also influences the level of effort and persistence employees put into their tasks and projects. It is what energizes, directs, and sustains their behaviour towards achieving organisational goals. The key aspects of motivation in the context of employees include intrinsic motivation. This type of motivation comes from within the individual and is driven by personal satisfaction, interest, or enjoyment in the task itself. Employees may be intrinsically motivated when they find their work meaningful, challenging, or aligned with their values and interests. Extrinsic motivation. This comes from external factors such as rewards, recognition, or punishment. It involves seeking rewards or avoiding negative consequences. Examples include salary increases, bonuses, promotions, or recognition programs. Then we have job satisfaction. Employees who are satisfied with their jobs tend to be more motivated. Job satisfaction can be influenced by various factors, such as the work environment, relationships with co-workers and supervisors, opportunities for advancement, and the nature of the work itself. Goal setting aids in motivation. Setting clear, specific, and achievable goals can motivate employees by providing them with a sense of direction and purpose. Goals should be challenging enough to be stimulating, but not so difficult that they become demotivating. Feedback and recognition. By providing regular feedback and recognition for employees' efforts and achievements, this can boost motivation by reinforcing positive behaviors and demonstrating appreciation for their contributions. Career development opportunities. Opportunities for learning, skill development, and career advancement can motivate employees by giving them a sense of progress and growth within the organisation. The organisational culture. So the culture of the organisation, including its values, norms, and practices, can impact employee motivation. A positive and supportive culture that promotes trust, collaboration, and open communication is likely to foster higher levels of motivation. Effective managers understand the importance of motivation and strive to create an environment that fosters employee engagement, satisfaction, and high performance. They tailor their motivational strategies to the individual needs and preferences of their team members while aligning them with the goals and objectives of the organisation. The second factor is the one of competence. Well, competence in the context of employees refers to the knowledge, skills, abilities, and attributes that individuals possess and then demonstrate in performing their job responsibilities effectively. It encompasses both the technical skills related to specific tasks or functions and interpersonal skills necessary for interacting with others in the workplace. Competence is essential for employees to successfully fulfill their role and contribute to the achievement of organisational goals. The key aspects of competence in the context of employees include technical skills. These are the specialised abilities and knowledge required to perform tasks or duties related to a particular job or profession. Technical skills can include proficiency in using software, machinery, tools, or equipment, as well as expertise in specific areas such as programming, accounting, marketing, engineering, butchery, etc. Problem-solving skills. Competent employees are adept at identifying problems, analysing root causes, and developing effective solutions. They can think critically, evaluate options, and make sound decisions to address challenges and improve those processes. Communication skills. Effective communications is vital for workplace success. Competent employees can articulate ideas clearly, listen actively to others, and convey information in a concise and understandable manner. Strong communication skills facilitate collaboration, teamwork, and the exchange of ideas within the organisation. Then we have adaptability and flexibility. Competent employees demonstrate adaptability and flexibility in response to changing circumstances, priorities, or demands. They can adjust their approach, methods, or strategies as needed to accommodate evolving situations and maintain that productivity. We also have initiative and proactivity. Competent employees take initiative and demonstrate a proactive attitude towards their work. They are self-motivated, resourceful, and willing to take on new challenges or responsibilities without constant supervision or direction from others. Of course, we also have interpersonal skills. Competent employees possess strong interpersonal skills that enable them to build positive relationships, collaborate effectively with colleagues, and resolve conflicts constructively. They demonstrate empathy, respect, and professionalism in their interactions with others. Leadership ability. Even if not in formal leadership positions, competent employees exhibit leadership qualities such as the ability to influence others, inspire confidence, and motivate their peers. They lead by example, contribute to a positive work culture, and encourage teamwork and collaboration. The next one is continuous learning and development. Competent employees recognize the importance of continuous learning and professional development. They seek out opportunities to expand their knowledge, acquire new skills, and stay updated on industry trends and best practices. Overall, competence is fundamental to individual and organizational success, as it enables employees to perform effectively, adapt to changing conditions, and contribute to the achievement of strategic objectives. Employers will often invest in training, development, and talent management initiatives to enhance the competence of their workforce and maintain a competitive edge in the marketplace. I'm sure all of us have been to a training course recently to address a competence challenge. There is, in fact, a strong link between motivation and competence. If you were to rate each of your team members on a 4-box grid, with competence on the left, where the bottom is low and the top is high, and then motivation along the bottom, where the left side is low and the right side is high, where would you plot each individual in your team? It's okay, I'll wait whilst you just do it. Oh, actually no, just pause and start me up again when you are ready. Great, now that you are back, we can continue. For each of those boxes, you now have 4 distinct types of people. Firstly, low competence and low motivation. This means they are unable to do the task and lack confidence. Secondly, high competence but low motivation. This means they are able to do the task but lack the motivation and are not challenged by it. The third box, high motivation but low competence, would mean they are enthusiastic, keen to learn, but need more experience with the task. And finally, the fourth box, high motivation and high competence, which makes them involved, engaged, and perform at a high level. So, the third aspect is that of personality types, and I'm really going to need a whole new segment for that. See you in a moment. When we start to look at the personality types, there are multiple ways to look at it, from Myers-Briggs to Enneagrams. However, as you already know, we are going to keep it simple and look at just 4 temperament types and 4 personality types in a work environment, just so that we don't have to spend thousands of those lovely smivelies. Remember those? A local currency nomenclature from my lovely wife? Thousands just taking everyone through online tests and then spend weeks deciphering each person's personality. These ones are simpler and easier to measure just based on the knowledge you already have for your team. We will first look at the 4 temperaments as follows. Firstly, sanguine. The sanguine temperament is traditionally associated with the element of air. People with this temperament tend to be lively, sociable, carefree, talkative, and pleasure-seeking. They may be warm-hearted and optimistic. They can make new friends easily, be imaginative and artistic, and often have many ideas. They can be flightable and changeable. Thus, sanguine personalities may struggle with following tasks all the way through and be chronically late or forgetful. They can best be reached through awakening their love for a subject and admiration of people. The second temperament is choleric. The choleric temperament is traditionally associated with the element of fire. People with this temperament tend to be egocentric and extroverted. They may be excitable, impulsive, and restless, with reserves of aggression, energy, and/or passion, and try to instill that in others. They tend to be highly task-orientated people and are focused on getting a job done efficiently. Their motto is usually, "Do it now." They can be ambitious, strong-willed, and they tend to like to be in charge. They can show leadership, are good at planning, and are often practical and solution-orientated. They appreciate receiving respect and esteem for their work. They can best be reached through mutual respect and appropriate challenges that recognise their capacities. The third one is melancholic. The melancholic temperament is traditionally associated with the element of earth. People with this temperament may appear serious, introverted, cautious, or even suspicious. They can become preoccupied with the tragedy and cruelty in the world and are susceptible to depression and moodiness. They may be focused and conscientious. They often prefer to do things themselves, both to meet their own standards and because they are not inherently sociable. Their needs can be met by awakening their sympathy for others and the suffering of the world. And fourthly, phlegmatic. The phlegmatic temperament is traditionally associated with the element of water. People with this temperament may be inward and private, thoughtful, reasonable, calm, patient, caring, and tolerant. They tend to have a rich inner life, seek a quiet, peaceful atmosphere, and be content with themselves. They tend to be steadfast, consistent in their habits, and thus steady and faithful friends. Their interest is often awakened by experiencing others' interest in a subject. People of this temperament may appear somewhat ponderous or clumsy, and their speech tends to be slow or appear hesitant. While the concept of the temperaments was on the wane, many critics dropped the phlegmatic, or defined it purely negatively, such as the German philosopher Immanuel Kant, as the absence of temperament. In the five temperaments theory, the classical phlegmatic temperament is in fact deemed to be a neutral temperament, whereas the relationship-orientated introvert position, traditionally held by the phlegmatic, is declared to be a new fifth temperament. Gary Smalley has renamed these classifications into a more modern and relatable format based on commonly known animals. These he lists as the otters, sanguines, lions, cholerics, golden retrievers, phlegmatics, and the beavers, the melancholics. Could you create a sheet that describes each of your team based on those definitions? Go on, pause here. I know you wanna. Okay, I have no doubt though that you have actually already mentally decided which member of your team is which. So we will move on to the personality types then. Okay everyone, we are now ready to embark on another journey of discovery as we jump into the realm of the 4 personality types. Here, you need to visualize another grid of 4 boxes. At the top, in the middle, you have extroverted, and at the bottom, in the middle, you have introverted. On the left-hand side in the middle, you have task orientation, and then on the right middle, you have people orientation. Within those boxes, you now have 4 distinct personality types. The top left box, which would be an extroverted, task-orientated person, this would lead to the personality type of direct, someone who likes to be in control and can come across as being aggressive. In the top right box, you have an extroverted, people-orientated person. This would lead to the personality type of animated, someone who is talkative, enthusiastic, and generally positive. In the bottom left box, you have an introverted, task-orientated person. This would lead to the personality type of organized, someone who thinks a lot, is controlled, and analytical. Finally, in the bottom right box, you would have an introverted, people-orientated person, leading to the personality type of steady, someone who is considerate, gentle, and tend towards being agreeable. There is no right or wrong within the personality type or temperament type. It's just how you see each of the individuals within your team. What this does do, however, is it helps you understand how to communicate with each of these types of personality, and it also helps later on when we talk about how to manage the team and allocate the tasks. How then do we communicate with each type? Well, let's start with the first one. A direct personality type tends to have the typical characteristics of extroversion and task orientation. They can be aggressive and direct and like to be in control, or at least feel like they are in control. The best way to communicate with them would be to look them in the eye and be straightforward. Use a no-nonsense approach to business and resist the temptation to offer too much data. For the animated personality type, they tend towards extroverted and people orientation. They are usually quite talkative, very enthusiastic, and tend to look at the positive. The best way to communicate with them is to take some time for lighter moments, paint descriptive word pictures, and use some humour and socialise. It is easier to get an animated personality type to do something if you are discussing it around the office water cooler. When looking at the steady personality type, they are introverted and tend towards people orientation. They are usually very considerate, gentle, and agreeable. The best way to communicate with them will be to talk about relationships and security, focus on family and people, and take care not to push them for quick, on-the-spot decisions. Finally, the organised personality type, who tends to be introverted and task-oriented. They will be deep thinkers, usually very controlled and methodical, as well as quite analytic. To communicate effectively with them, you would need to use facts and data, minimise the chit-chat, avoid discussing things that would be of little importance to them, and do not ramble or waste time. Now is the time again to take a pause and put each of your team members into one of those personality types. So, pause. No, that's play. Pause. No, that's play again. Okay, off we go again. It is absolutely essential that you know how each individual interacts within the team. Can you imagine what would happen if you put 3 direct personality-only types together on a task? This becomes even more important as we move into the next segment, which is about how you manage the team. Now that you know your individual team members a little bit better, it's time to see how you need to manage them together as a team. But here's a question. What exactly is a team? Using the ever-faithful Dr. Google, organised personality type, that one I think, it states that a team is 2 or more people working together. That sounds a tad clinical to me. The one that we all know, as it has been repeated often through our careers, is the acronym for TEAM. T-E-A-M. Together, everyone achieves more. Sounds great, but it's also a little twee for me. Here is how I see a team. A team represents a group of individuals who come together to achieve common goals or objectives within an organisation. It fosters collaboration, enhances productivity, and promotes innovation. There's those 3 things I keep talking about again. Here's how being part of a team affects individuals within a work environment. Being part of a team provides individuals with a sense of belonging and community within the organisation. This feeling of inclusion can boost morale and motivation as employees feel connected to something larger than themselves. Teams typically work towards a shared set of goals or objectives. This shared purpose gives individuals a sense of direction and clarity in their work. It also helps to align everyone's efforts towards achieving the organization's mission. Teams rely on collaboration and effective communication to accomplish tasks and solve problems. Through regular interaction with team members, individuals develop interpersonal skills and learn from each other's experiences and perspectives. Team members often provide support and encouragement to each other, especially during challenging times. This camaraderie creates a supportive work environment where individuals feel empowered to take risks and to overcome obstacles. Working in a team environment allows individuals to develop a wide range of skills, including teamwork, leadership, conflict resolution, and decision-making. These skills are not only valuable for the team's success, but also for personal and professional growth. Being part of a team means individuals are accountable for their contribution to the team's success. This accountability fosters a sense of responsibility and ownership over one's work, leading to higher levels of engagement and commitment. Teams often celebrate successes and milestones together, providing recognition and rewards for individual and collective achievements. This acknowledgement reinforces positive behaviour and motivates team members to continue performing at their best. A team in a work environment serves as a supportive and collaborative unit where individuals can thrive, grow, and contribute towards common goals. By leveraging the diverse skills, competencies, and perspectives, personality types of its members, a team can achieve greater success than individuals working in isolation. The Borg from the science fiction series Star Trek are often cited as a fascinating example of teamwork. While they may not represent traditional teamwork as we know it, their collective consciousness and unified purpose demonstrate an extreme form of collaboration and coordination. Each member of the Borg collective worked seamlessly together, sharing knowledge and resources instantaneously to achieve their goals. However, it's worth noting that the Borg's approach to teamwork is often depicted as oppressive and lacking individuality, serving as a cautionary tale about the potential dangers of sacrificing autonomy for collective unity. So, now that I have my first Star Trek reference out of the way, it only took me 6 episodes, and it was TNG rather than TOS. What happens if there are some problems within your team? If you are having problems within your team, it could be linked back to one of the 5 dysfunctions. This is a concept propagated by Patrick Lencioni in his book of the same name. These all impact your team as follows. Firstly, an absence of trust. If there is no trust between the team, this really is the starting point for failure. Teams will start to conceal weaknesses and mistakes from each other. They will hesitate to ask for help or provide constructive feedback. They are likely to also hesitate to help outside of their own areas of responsibility. They will also jump to conclusions about the intentions and aptitudes of others without attempting to clarify them. If there is an absence of trust, they will fail to recognize and tap into one another's skills and experiences, as well as waste their time and energy managing their behaviors for effect. Team members will also hold grudges and dread meetings and avoid spending time together. On the other hand, members of trusting teams will admit weaknesses and mistakes, as well as asking for help. They will accept questions and inputs about their area of responsibility, as well as giving one another the benefit of the doubt before arriving at a negative conclusion. They are likely to take risks in offering feedback and assistance, and then appreciate and tap into one another's skills and experience. It is expected that they will focus time and energy on important issues, not politics, and offer and accept apologies without hesitation. Most likely, they will also look forward to meetings and other opportunities to work together as a group. Secondly, and leading on from the absence of trust, there is the fear of conflict and openness. The desire to preserve artificial harmony stifles the occurrence of productive ideological conflict. Teams that fear conflict tend to conceal weaknesses and mistakes from one another and have really boring meetings. There will be an environment where backchannel politics and personal attacks thrive. They are likely to ignore controversial topics that are critical for the team's success and fail to tap into all of the opinions and perspectives of team members. Mostly, however, they will waste time with interpersonal posturing and interpersonal risk management, or CYA. But as I'm British, I would need to say CYB. Teams that do engage in conflict, though, are having robust, lively, and interesting meetings. They extract and exploit the opinions of all team members and solve real problems very quickly. They also minimize politics and only put crucial topics on the table for discussion. At the third level, it is the question of a lack of or fear of commitment. The lack of clarity and the fear of being wrong prevents team members from making decisions in a timely and definitive way. A team that fails to commit creates ambiguity among the team about direction and priorities. It tends to watch windows of opportunity close due to excessive analysis and unnecessary delay. It breeds a lack of confidence and fear of failure. They will revisit discussions again and again and again, and this then encourages second guessing amongst the team members. Conversely, a team that is committed creates clarity around direction and priorities and aligns the entire team around common objectives. It develops an ability to learn from mistakes and takes advantage of opportunities before competitors do. It also tends to move forward without hesitation, but will also change direction without hesitation or guilt. At the fourth level, it is then about accountability avoidance. The need to avoid personal discomfort prevents the team members from holding one another accountable for their behaviours. A team that avoids accountability creates resentment among team members who have different standards of performance. It encourages mediocrity and will, in all likelihood, miss deadlines and key deliverables. It also tends to place an undue burden on the team leader as the sole source of discipline. A team that does hold one another accountable ensures that poor performers feel supported to perform. It identifies potential problems quickly by questioning one another's approaches without hesitation. It also establishes respect among all team members, as all are held to the same high standard. It also avoids excessive bureaucracy around performance management and corrective actions. This finally leads to the fifth level, which is an inattention to results. The desire for individual credit erodes the focus on collective results. A team that is not focused on results tends to stagnate and fails to grow. It rarely defeats competitors and starts to lose achievement-orientated employees. It generally encourages team members to focus on their own careers and individual goals, and is usually easily distracted by the next bright, shiny object flaunted in front of them. A team that is focused on results will retain achievement-orientated employees. It also minimizes individualistic behavior. The whole team enjoys success and will also suffer failures acutely, and most importantly, they will learn from it. It benefits from individuals who subjugate their personal goals and interests for the sake of the team. And of course, it avoids those sparkly, shiny distractions. Oh, and by the way, those bright, shiny and sparkly distractions, how many team members ran at the chance to try that new thing, e-commerce, a few years ago, and some of the brightest and best started to work on it. And then, as it sucked in more and more of the organisation talent, we started to see the rest of the business start to suffer. So that, of course, the only answer was to continue to pour more resources into that bright, shiny and sparkly thing. It's a spiral. Anyway, have a think now about your own team spirit, and decide that if you do have a problem, which level is that problem at? Then you can start fixing it. Different team members not only have different personalities, levels of motivation and competence, they also have preferences for the type of work they like to do. This leadership thing, eh? So much to think about. But no worries though, we are here to help. The next segment will look at the Belbin model and the 4 main work preferences, as well as the 9 corresponding roles. We're building up quite a picture about your people, aren't we, eh? The Belbin model for team roles was developed by Dr. Meredith Belbin in the 1970s. It is a psychological theory used to understand individual behaviour within teams. It identifies 9 distinct team roles that individuals naturally adopt when working in a group setting. Belbin's model suggests that effective teams are composed of individuals who collectively cover all of these roles, ensuring a balanced distribution of tasks and responsibilities. Understanding an individual's preferred team role can enhance teamwork, communication, and overall team effectiveness. 3 things. The 4 main work preferences are leading, doing, thinking, and socializing. Each of these preferences then have roles attached that lean towards either a people orientation, task orientation, or thought orientation. Within leading, there are two roles: coordinator, more leaning towards people, and the shaper, leaning more towards task. A coordinator is someone who gets people to work towards a common or shared goal. They are a people-orientated leader who gets everyone to work together. They are usually a respected leader who helps everyone focus on the task. They can sometimes come across, though, as excessively controlling. The shaper will shape the team's direction and tends to impose a way of doing things. They are a task-orientated leader who gets the job done. They tend to have a lot of energy and action and will challenge others to move forwards, although they can also come across as being insensitive and not empathetic. When we look at the doing work preference, there are also two main roles, heavily leaning towards the task orientation portion. The implementer focuses purely on the implementation of the task, no more, no less. They are well organized, predictable, and are able to take basic ideas and make them work in practice. However, they can be slow and less able to adapt. The completer-finisher is able to complete and finish tasks in a thorough way with great attention to detail. They reliably see things through to the bitter end and iron out wrinkles along the way, ensuring everything works well. However, they do tend to worry too much and have difficulty trusting others to get the work done. Within thinking, there are three roles: the plant, the monitor-evaluator, and the specialist. All are very heavily centered on thought orientation. The plant is generally a person who comes up with good ideas. They are able to solve difficult problems and can come up with original and creative ways of doing things. However, they can also be a poor communicator and often ignore the details and the nitty-gritty. The monitor-evaluator objectively monitors, analyzes, and evaluates ideas and suggestions. They tend to see the bigger picture and think carefully and accurately about things. Unfortunately, they may also lack energy or an ability to inspire others. The specialist tends to have very specialist knowledge in a specific area of work. They have expert knowledge and skills in a key area or areas and will solve many of the problems related to that area of expertise. However, they tend to be disinterested in other areas outside of their field and can be quite narrowly focused. We then move on to the socializing work preference. Of course, this is heavily in the people-orientated segment with two different roles. First, there is the resource investigator. They investigate and explore new opportunities and builds up resources and contacts. They explore new ideas freely, with energy, and with others, as they tend to be a very good networker. They can, however, be too optimistic, and might even lose energy after the initial rush as they start looking for the next shiny object to put their attention to. Then there is the team worker. This person works as part of a team and has the flexibility to adapt to different people and situations. They care for the individuals and the team. They are a good listener and work to solve social or interpersonal problems, as well as being very supportive to each team member. This does mean that sometimes they have difficulty in making the difficult decisions, especially where it involves people. So think about all of these different elements we have now exposed. Could you create a holistic team document that shows exactly what personality types, temperament, work preferences, and roles your teams enjoy? Well, of course, the answer is a resounding yes. Rather than just relying on one model, you now have a multi-dimensional view of the whole team. Would this make it easier to put your teams together on specific work tasks to make sure that there is a balance? One would hope so, and this is exactly something that you should be doing, especially as we now move on to the sociogram. I hadn't heard of this particular term until I started looking into how teams interact and work together some 20 years ago. A sociogram is a graphical representation of the social links that a person has. It is a tool commonly used in sociology, psychology, and social network analysis to visualize and analyze social relationships within a group or community. Sociograms typically represent individuals as nodes or points, and the relationships between them as lines or connections. Lines can be solid, dashed, broken, one-way or two-way. Sociograms can be used to study various aspects of social dynamics, including friendship patterns, communication networks, leadership structures, and work group cohesion. By mapping out social connections, managers can gain insights into how individuals interact, influence one another, and form social hierarchies within a group. Sociograms can take different forms, depending upon the specific questions and methodology used. However, you can create a simple diagram just drawn by hand. Regardless of their form, sociograms provide you with a visual representation of social relationships that helps you to understand the structure and dynamics of your team. Each team member may fall into several different groups, or just one. For example, the isolated individual belongs to none of the groups, sometimes by personal choice. The rejected may believe they are part of a certain group without knowing that in fact they are rejected by it. The clique are the group that tends to stick together, usually led by the star or perceived star, and can be a force for good or not so good. Think of the film Mean Girls, or almost every American high school movie, and I'm sure you can pick out the sociogram and groups that the different people belong to. It's the same basic structure in a work environment. This is as good a time as any to now start drawing a sociogram, as it allows you to identify and resolve issues potentially before they arise. You can then distribute tasks accordingly across the groups, address any potential antisocial behaviour, and of course improve group cohesion. And so we come to the end of part 1 about our employees. But don't worry, part 2 has already been written, recorded, and is released simultaneously with episode 1, so that you don't have to wait another 2 weeks to hear how to ensure your people are your success. The 3 things we have looked at in this episode are, firstly, people and development. We now know that we are all responsible for looking after the people that work for us and their development. Secondly, we delve deep into managing the individual, especially looking at their motivations, competence, and personality types. Remember the 4 elements of fire, air, water, and wind, as well as direct, animated, organised, and steady. And finally, we spent time looking at managing the team. We looked at what makes an effective team and what makes it ineffective. We especially looked at the 5 dysfunctions of absence of trust, fear of conflict, lack of commitment, avoidance of accountability, and the inattention to results. You were also introduced to the Belbin model and the 4 work preferences and 9 roles that people prefer, and then how to create and why you must create a team sociogram. Don't forget to now hop over to part 2 to learn more about management styles, some day-to-day tools that you can use with your own teams, and the leader's role in managing their employees. A huge thanks for tuning in, my Retail 101ers. Got a burning question or comments? You know where to find me. LinkedIn, X, or drop a message on our website, retail101online.com. And of course, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that bell wherever you get your podcast fix, so you never miss out on the excitement of our next episode drop. Cheers to the retail revolution. And that's it, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode, maybe in a couple of weeks' time. Cheers.